Father and son will both be in Brown County Court today in the case of the death of a Green Bay toddler.
David Vanderleest and his son James were arrested back in June at a cabin in Florence County following the death of 2-year-old Leo Escalante. James Vanderleest will be in court today for a motion hearing regarding a potential bond modification and to possibly set a trial date. He pleaded not guilty to all charges back in September, including first-degree reckless homicide. As we first alerted you, Vanderleest was reportedly caring for the child on June 22nd at a home in Green Bay when he says the boy fell down the stairs. That boy dying 2 days later at a hospital, and prosecutors say an autopsy shows that the injuries are not consistent with what Vanderleest says happened. He'll be in court just after 10 o'clock this morning.
And his father has a court date later in the day. David Vanderleest's trial was delayed back in October after his attorney says neither side received the autopsy report. David Vanderleest pleaded not guilty in August to charges of harboring or aiding a fugitive and obstructing an officer. His court date is set for this afternoon.
The 2020